Hi, I'm Daniel Landstandig, and this is Innovation 19. Hi, I'm Daniel Landstandig, and this is Innovation 19, our new exactly 19-minute podcast on innovation, entrepreneurship, ideas, and insights that can transform our future. We believe that innovation is a mindset, not a momentary behavior, and this podcast is all about inspiring and igniting the passion and creativity of leaders and change makers. On this episode, we're talking with Karen Semone, Senior Director of Innovation in Salesforce's Digital Transformation and Innovation Group. She's in the lab that's helping C-suite executives evolve their businesses to survive and thrive, especially during the seismic shifts we're experiencing these days. But first, all right, I don't know about you, but today I'm going public with my Zoom fatigue. I am turning into a Zombie, and like many of you, I have also worked with people from around the world, so video conferencing was not new to me at the beginning of COVID. But wow, the amount of video conferencing sure has been a bit overwhelming for the past several months. And there are actually studies that show that you might feel more drained after a video call compared to other types of calls. So we just need to call an audible today. While video conferencing is indeed a godsend, and it has been wonderful for productivity during a pandemic, I'm going to say it's okay to have a good old-fashioned phone call without the video. I was talking with somebody from our team today, and she said she actually finds it easier to schedule meetings with people these days if we make it clear that a phone-only conversation is an option and that we don't have to be on webcam. So let's be kind to ourselves and acknowledge that we don't need to have that webcam on all the time to be productive. All right, now let's welcome this episode's guest, Karen Semone from the innovation team at Salesforce. Hi, Karen.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Daniel. I've been looking forward to it.
So tell me about your work on the innovation team at Salesforce.
Sure. So I lead a content team in our department called Digital Transformation and Innovation. And it's a very cool job. Our job is to create guidance and thought leadership to help the C-suite, really. So the kind of leadership of our customers figure out how to make better decisions and to better serve their employees, their customers, and actually society, which is becoming more and more important. We're a very values-led organization. So you can imagine with that job, it's been a very interesting year. We spent a lot of time this year on our COVID response playbook. So kind of helping, putting together a specifically Salesforce point of view on how leaders can really kind of build a more resilient organization and help their employees through this time. So that's been an amazing journey. It's been great. I think prior to Salesforce, I come to innovation by way of storytelling. So the kind of red thread throughout my career has been content, right? I led a content practice for a digital agency. I did my own, I had my own company. So I definitely have the entrepreneurial mindset that you and I share. Mm-hmm. So it's been fun to kind of marry, content and storytelling with innovation.
Well, so this idea of the future of work didn't start at Salesforce on, day one of COVID shutdowns. I mean, somewhere in the hallways and in the boardrooms, way before COVID, there was a discussion about how work was changing.
You're exactly right. It's not a new topic for us. I've been at Salesforce for almost exactly 3 years now, actually. And it is definitely an employee-facing company and brand in many ways. And I know it sounds like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I have to tell you, as an employee at Salesforce, the Kool-Aid is available at a fire hose near you, and it tastes like champagne. So I don't mind saying that. We've known for a really long time, and research has shown, it's no real secret, there's a real connection between employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction, right? The more engaged your employees are, the better they're going to be to serve their customers. And so there's that, we kind of lean into that connection. And I think at Salesforce, what's really unique, the way we do that is through empathy for what employees need and truly need, and those needs are changing really quickly, and listening. So interestingly, a lot of the perspective that I talk about today, we actually formed even pre-COVID. We've just sort of COVID has kind of accelerated a lot of those needs and put a new lens on it. But I would say, we're going back to the future of work, because a lot of the talk track that I use today, even preceded COVID, was from last year, and the research was showing even then that leaders really need to pay more attention to their employees. And we've learned this year that they are. So that's like a silver lining, right? There's more of a focus than ever before on employee needs. And I don't see that winding back. So that's maybe one silver lining.
Well, so blunt question, what is the future of work?
Well, I think in a nutshell, the big headline would be the future of work is deeply understanding your employees' needs and paying as much attention, if not more, to them than you would your customer needs, which is in and of itself kind of a provocative thought. I think underneath that, what are those needs and how are they changing? I think you've nailed it a lot. It's continual, contextual, lifelong learning, right? We're living longer lives and we need to continue to reward those types of skills: curiosity, risk-taking, agility, self-starter. Those types of kind of soft skills are going to be really important in the future of work. Another piece I think that's important to think about is the actual notion of a job and what a job means and what a job role means is changing, right? We're kind of seeing companies unbundle job roles from the tasks and the skills underneath them because of automation, because of robotics, because of machine learning. There are tasks that you do when you're hired that you won't have to do for a long time. You can have some of the more mundane tasks be automated. And while that seems scary, the great piece of that is that elevates and unleashes human potential to create more purpose and meaning and autonomy and ways we make decisions. So I think that companies are starting to understand that even before COVID. And I think we're going to see us leaning into that even more. Like I said, I think COVID is kind of an accelerant to that change and that transformation.
It's so interesting that you talk about the quality of life in the workforce as being worthy of focus as much as the profitability of a company. I mean, you're really reflecting on a movement of conscious capitalism where companies are focused on 3P income statements and P&Ls. The 3Ps, of course, being profit, people, and planet. So I wonder, do you see a day where a publicly traded company will be required to report on, or might even be taxed differently based on what they're doing in terms of profit or elevating their people or contributing back to planetary resources?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. A resounding yes on that. And I love that you're tuned into that. I think, it's not a secret that Salesforce likes to say we're pretty woke when it comes to this stuff. But Benioff, our CEO, was part of the executive roundtable. I think it was the fall of 2019, where the Business Roundtable came forward and said, look, we need a new breed of capitalism, right? We need stakeholder capitalism. We need to be committed not just to our shareholders, but to all of our communities and we do business with. And so, yes, I do believe that, it's becoming kind of table stakes to understand that your business is a platform for change.
We're definitely not saying that profitability is not important. We are proud capitalists, but we're saying that there's a bigger picture and government can't solve problems alone, right?
I think part of what fomented that, honestly, is a lack of trust, right, in maybe governments to actually create that change. And that's not just in our country. So sure. If you look at, I really, every year, Edelman does a great study, the trust barometer that comes out in January. And if you look at the trends, people have actually been looking to companies and expecting, the employees have been expecting their companies to take a stand.
Well, look, when you look at the 100 largest economies on the planet, only 31 are nation states and 69 are corporations. So it's more likely that we're going to see transformation through capitalism than it is through legislation.
Right. I mean, Amazon's the same size of a GDP of most Western countries at this point. I mean, right. So it is really true. I mean, I think that's, and again, I'm an optimist. I think most innovators and entrepreneurs are, they have to be. And I think that's something that we're going to see a big time conversation on. I mean, I'm actually very curious. Every year I kind of look forward to, from afar, listening to Davos. And I have a feeling that's going to be a huge topic this year as well.
All right. Good news, bad news. The average lifespan now for people born after 2007 is 104 years old, which is wonderful news. Of course, if our grandparents would have heard about this, in their lifetime, they would have laughed with joy to know that we were going to live so long and that there would be so many wonderful advancements in healthcare. But it does bring up a question about preparedness for retirement.
100%. I exactly right. We actually do some research with Harvard Medical School. There's a gentleman named David Sinclair who leads their School of Aging. And yes, exactly that statistics is correct. The average lifespan is 104 for a child born in 2007. The other one that I love is the first person to live to be 150 has already been born, which is pretty provocative.
Amazing.
When you think of it, right? When you think about it, right? And I think that's, while it is tempting to think about, what does Gen Z need, and what are the impact of millennials on the workforce as they grow into management? I think we need to move beyond that in our conversations around the future of work, right? We need to think about that for the first time ever, we are going to have 4, if not 5 distinct generations of workers in the workplace at one time. And it's interesting, not only is retirement at 65 no longer, especially I think after 2020 and the economic implications within reach, I think that it is, for many people, especially in this country, I think it might not even be desirable, right? If you live that long, you need to continue to challenge yourself. You need to stimulate yourself. And so this age and this era of enterprise companies that are, they have people that, I like the expression, retire in place, right? They get into the comfortable management role and they stop learning, that those guys are going to not survive, right? We need
too much competition.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So we're seeing some really interesting trends there. I think there's this concept of minternships, right? Mid-career internships, where you take a pause in your 40s and you kind of regroup on what you want to do, learn a new skill, and you make a shift. I think that's a huge trend that's happening. Another thing that we've been tracking is this idea of the senior entrepreneur cohort, which is super interesting. Seniors actually are making up one of the fastest growing groups of entrepreneurs around the globe. So there's a great, I know it's wild, right?
No, Grace and Frankie could do it. We all should aspire to do that in our 70s and 80s. Totally.
I mean, I love that. I mean, we really are into reverse mentorship here. So like kind of marrying the young and the old and thinking about how they can help each other. There's a cool like community center in Manhattan, actually in Chelsea, called Senior Planet, where people can go at that age to kind of learn new tech. And so I'm super excited about that.
So we're going to live longer, work longer. We have advances to help us live better lives. But at the same time, I'm sure some of us are going to feel exhausted by this idea of living and working longer. We're in this constantly connected state, even if we're working remotely. So how do you think about burnout and overload?
Burnout is a real risk right now. And that's been tough. So what we're trying to do there is really understand the cognitive overload we all feel, right? What is the impact of just being zombies that the pandemic has had on our mental health, especially being hybrid, by being hybrid or being fully remote. And that leaders, it's interesting, we did a really recent data study at our own company that nobody's taking PTO. Even we're one of those hip Silicon Valley companies that has unlimited PTO, and that's like a psychological trick. Like people don't take. But really, like leaders actually need to model that. They need to kind of say like mindfulness is really important. Thinking about things like how can you actually give your employees that break? We have a twice daily, we call it Be Well. It's like a 30-minute break that you can dial in at any time. And it's everything from meditation to yoga to cooking. We bring in experts. And that's been really helpful. I think good leaders need to be thinking about that and truly not only say, hey, take the time you need and take care of yourself, but actually model that behavior. Take their own breaks.
All right, Karen, some people go to work for the money. Some people go to work for the fulfillment and the passion, and their career is their greatest purpose. And somewhere on that spectrum between those two types, there are people who have fun at work and make a good living doing it. So what is this next generation coming into the workforce motivated by? Why are they coming to work?
Yeah, great question. I think, beyond that sort of more purposeful and society-driven company, values-based company, I think a trend that we haven't talked about yet that I think will be coming is this idea of bringing in the concepts of the gig economy into your company. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for a very simple reason, which many good leaders know, which is that look, bored people quit, right? They once you get bored, you're disengaged. And so in order to keep the younger generation interested, and they're fully used to working kind of gigs, right? Working different non-traditional types of employment. So how do you give them the stability of a full-time job, but really understand that, maybe every 18 months they need to try something new? Or, can they kind of moonlight and try different tasks, that are different from their day job? We've seen a lot of really, really successful companies to start to dabble in that. There's a cool example of this actually in France. This company, NG, which is a customer of ours, it's a giant, energy company. And in fact, it's cool. It's not a startup. It actually was founded in 1858. And they built a gig economy marketplace basically on their platform where any employee, rather than leave the company if they don't like their current job, is encouraged, right, to find another project or a gig and to learn something new. So that internal mobility is going to be really, really critical. We like to use the phrase liquid talent, right? Being able to quickly retrain, upskill, and move your talent from department to department is going to create diversity of thought. It's going to create stronger, more adaptable and resilient employees. And frankly, they're going to have more fun at work. They're going to be more engaged in work, and they're going to be less likely to leave.
You're really saying that companies are going to have to move faster and evolve faster than ever and increase the speed of creativity and innovation, because talent interested in growth will favor companies with new and varied opportunities who can afford to move talent around that way and stay nimble and efficient.
100% agree. And I think we share a lot of the same thoughts, Daniel. I mean, our chief innovation officer, Simon Mulcahy, who I worked closely with for years, he always says, the pace of change will never be slower than it is today. And he said that last year, by the way. So it's just kind of gotten into a warp speed.
So it's already sped up, right?
Right. It's like speed was already sort of a trait of the successful transformed company. And so I think now, I think that's exactly right. Being able to accelerate decision-making more quickly, being able to pivot more quickly for your employees is going to be critically important.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for joining us on our very first Innovation 19 podcast. It's been a real pleasure.
It's been such a pleasure. Thanks so much, Daniel.
All right, a couple takeaways from today's conversation. First, successful workplaces will nurture talent and consistently provide learning and professional development opportunities. Second, we're living longer, and we should plan accordingly. So retirement might be on a different time scale than we anticipated. And third, the pace of change will never be slower. We welcome your feedback at innovation19.com. We'll publish episodes featuring innovators and thought leaders every 2 weeks, so go ahead and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we promise that these will always be short, sweet, and thought-provoking. And unsurprisingly, we've used Post by Futuri to create, publish, and optimize today's podcast. Post is in use by some of the world's top brands, especially those in the broadcast space, to maximize their content ROI and get the best material in front of the largest possible audience. Learn more today at innovation19.com. Thanks again to our guest today, Karen Semone. I'm Daniel Anstandig. Our executive producer in charge, yes, that spells epic, is Zena Burns. Sonic branding by Real World. This is Innovation 19.